story.
Okay, so still.
Order the meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Committee of the Whole Monday, September 17th, 2018. Let the record reflect that it is 6:37. Trustee House advised that he's going to be a little late today. I have not heard from Trustee Henyard. Our village attorney is not attending tonight, and our village clerk is not attending tonight. Tonight we have Denise Fields sitting in for as deputy clerk tonight. Can we get the roll call, please?
Trustee Muhammad.
Here.
Trustee Stubbs.
Here.
Trustee House. Trustee Denton.
Present.
Trustee Pearson.
Here.
And 2 trustees are not here.
Yes.
Okay. If you can stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you remain standing, I ask Janice to lead us in prayer tonight.
God, please allow us to have a nice, smooth meeting, get everybody in and out. Amen.
Amen. You must go watch the Bears game, huh? Okay, are there any general announcements, Deputy Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, no general announcements. Order of business today will be for discussion only. First item on the agenda is Tag Day.
Yeah, I have an announcement, Mayor. If I could, can I be recognized, sir, for a general announcement?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, if I could get Miss Marshall to the podium. She's the president and founder of B-Site, who works with the youth, and she want to make an announcement. And oftentimes we have complaints with young people having no direction, no purpose, and B-Site primarily works with the youth up until about, I believe, age 16. What's the age, the highest age?
It's from all levels up to the 8th grade.
13, 14. And she's here to tell us where she's at right now from the last time you were here.
Thank you for having me to present. We will be having free tutoring.
Put the mic more to your mouth, because it's not.
Can you hear it now? We will be having free tutoring at the Dalton Park District Saturdays and Sundays from 12:30 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. Okay, so if you know anyone who needs free tutoring from K through 8th grade, please let them know. It's a flyer that they're going to post on their website, and if you all can post it on yours as well for the Village of Dalton. And I also spoke with Shelly Davis with District 149, the superintendent. She's going to pass it out to all of the middle school students tomorrow so that they can come to try to advance and boost their grades and be ahead of the curve. That's all I wanted to present.
Let me ask you, what exactly do you want the residents here to know, and those viewing, what do you want them to know and to see and to do for you?
To go to www.bsites, that's BSITENFP.org. You can see the starting of the organization, what we've done over the summer, and what we plan to continue to do to advance the youth to not have any idle time and to implement programs and activities that they currently do not have.
You say tutoring will take place at the Park District.
Dalton
where?
Park District, 721 English Street in Dalton, Illinois, of course. Saturday, Sunday from noon until 12:30 p.m. until 4:30 p.m.
And which building will the young people be tutored?
It'll be in the dance room inside Dalton Park District.
Okay, thank you,
No problem.
Ms. Marshall.
Thank you.
Okay, order of business today for discussion only is item number 1, Tag Day request for I Hustle Basketball Academy, South Holland.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got one announcement.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Just real quick, just a friendly reminder, the council walk will be October 13th. Again, that date is October 13th, which is a Saturday. It will be at 9 a.m. on 147 in Woodlawn. Please come out, walk, drive, whatever you need. If you need any assistance, please contact me at 708-297-6859. Again, that number is 708-297-6859. You can sit on the council committee or help out with the event. Again, October 13th, you guys. I hope to see more active residents this year. Thank you. 9 a.m.
Okay. Clerk Dugan is not here. She put this on for the academy. You want to discuss this or not?
No, I haven't.
Anyone? Is anyone here from iHustle Academy? Okay, we'll pass on this. Next thing is ordinance number 18-010, budget and appropriation ordinance fiscal year 2018-2019. And this was my veto. It's my understanding from the village attorney that it cannot be voted on the committee of whole meeting. So we'll pass that. Next thing on the agenda
It
is
was for discussion only, Mayor, but we can remove that from the agenda. We can remove item number 2. And you can remove item number 3, request RFP.
okay. Item 2 and 3 has been removed from the agenda. The last thing is the ordinance establishing procedure for payment of bills.
May I be
Trustee
recognized?
Muhammad. Trustee Muhammad.
Okay, I'd like to read the ordinance into record. Of course, it's for discussion only and has to do with another procedure for the payment of bills, and we'll give the justification for that for discussion. This ordinance will be introduced at our next regular board meeting. We have not established an ordinance number, but it's an ordinance establishing procedure for payment of bills, and it reads as follows. Whereas the mayor and board of trustees of the Village of Dalton believe and hereby declare that it is in the best interest of the Village of Dalton and its residents to establish a procedure for the payment of bills that require that no bill, invoice, or debt be paid without the approval of its voucher by the village board, and that the voucher listing shall include the name and number of the specific line item in the current budget from which the bill, invoice, or debt will be paid, the amount the line item is budgeted for in the current budget, and the current balance remaining in that line item. Now, therefore, it be ordained by the mayor and board of trustees of the Village of Dalton, Cook County, Illinois, in the exercise of its home rule authority as follows. Section 1. There is hereby established a procedure for the payment of bills that requires A, no bill, invoice, or debt be paid without the approval of its voucher by the village board, and B, the voucher listing shall include the name and number of the specific line item in the current budget from which the bill, invoice, or debt will be paid, the amount the line item is budgeted for in the current budget, and the current balance remaining in the line item. The finance director is hereby authorized and directed to implement this procedure immediately. And of course, that's upon passage of said ordinance. And at this moment, if I can continue with discussion, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the reasons, of many reasons that brought this on, there was an item on our, I believe it was our last corporate payments list, the warrant list, yes. I have August in front of me, but to give you an idea of the monies that we're talking about on a monthly basis, this is an overall payments that were paid out in the month of August. Corporate payments were paid of $865,648.58. The problem with the internal workings of our village is that we don't have any internal operations because we're doing on a cash on hand basis as opposed to an accrual basis. That's an accounting function. In other words, we're paying bills as we receive the monies, which is not the way that you run a municipality. I believe that we just recently received a invoice from a company called Tri-State, Five Star, who it was brought up at our last meeting. I think the invoice was approximately, $52,000, and it had to do with sidewalks. and we were told that invoice was for sidewalks, $52,000. But this past Saturday, myself and Trustee Pearson went and visited every one of those sites where some work was supposed to be done. And I don't have them in front of me. Maybe Trustee Pearson has, but we found out that we were going to pay an invoice of over $50,000, and the work had not even been done on more than half of those properties. When I say properties, I'm talking about residential properties. We did find out the Aperion, I think that's a senior care facility or a nursing home. Most of the construction was done along that street. I believe that was Dorchester. But Mayor Blackstone. But if you would, Mayor, I would tend to Trustee Pearson. He can go over the detail of those particular invoices that we discovered that we were about to pay, but the work had not been done. I would like to yield to Trustee Pearson on that.
Mayor, could I be recognized, sir?
Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks for coming out this evening. It seemed that half of the houses weren't done, and the big concern is that we would have authorized payment, then we would have been paying for work that's yet to be done, and we don't know if it would be done or would not be done. We did go and check every single house on that list, and it seemed that the houses on Dorchester were not done, and that is 6 houses that seem, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So that looks like 3 houses right next to each other weren't done, and 1 on the corner was not done. The houses on Blackstone were done, and the houses on Dorchester was done. Let's see. I'm sorry. Yeah, the houses on Dorchester were done. It's the houses on Champlain that were not done. And I believe the one on Chicago Road looked like it might have been started. The house on Ingle was not done. So I didn't try to, the 2 on Dobson were not done either. And I'm not giving the addresses because I don't want to put anybody's business in the street. But anyway, I didn't total up the amounts of the houses that were not done, but it is a significant amount, and this board should never pay for anything in advance. And I think if the board would have authorized payment, then we would be negligent, but we can't see this. If you don't request it, you just get a warrant list, and everything on the warrant list just lists a dollar amount and who it's for. And it never says work done or work not done, and that's why we need to go to this new system and pass this ordinance. When I became a trustee, trustees had to sign off on every invoice. They got a copy of the invoice, and they got a paper explaining, you know, what line item it was going to be for, who authorized it, and it had more information. And that was removed by Stan Urban. He didn't think that the trustees should look at that. But that was the best way to do it. Now, there was a problem with some trustees took these things home. That should have never happened. And some trustees didn't get the signatures in on time, leaving, you know, a gap in trying to get it on a warrant list. But it should be approved because we are ultimately responsible for paying the bills. And I would not ever want to pay a bill for something that's not done yet because, again, I say you don't know if it's going to be done or if it's not going to be done. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. At the last board meeting, I asked that invoice be pulled. And I think it was approximately 10 of them on there for 5-star. Also, I had asked prior to us voting to pay the bills, I asked Ms. Redmond, our finance director, to send out those invoices to us. She stated to me in an email that she would like that request to be in a timely fashion. Well, once we receive the warrant list, then that's when we go through it, and it takes some time to go through each one of them to see what's what. So that's why I'm in favor of this ordinance, so we can actually get the invoices, so we'll know exactly what we're paying. And when I saw 5-star, then it was excessive. And we had also implemented anything over $5,000 to be paid out that had come through the board. Well, that wasn't done. It was one invoice over there on the warrant list for over $17,000, and that did not come to the board for a vote to be paid on. And that's unfortunate. So this way, we'll get an opportunity to see what bills need to be paid, the invoices, who they go to, so it won't be no misunderstanding, like when you go out there and you see work that's not completed or haven't been started. So we don't want to pay for something that they didn't do the work. So that's why I'm in favor of this ordinance. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, that's all.
My Public Works Superintendent advised me that there were some issues with paying this vendor well over a year ago. They had did the work, and they hadn't got paid for close to a year. So they had completed partial work, and like Trustee Pearson said, they did the work on Dorchester, but they wanted to be paid in advance for some of the other work because of the delay in payment that from the previous work they had done. So he advised me just now that that's why it was submitted for payment.
May I be recognized again, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Mine.
Go ahead.
And the reason why we didn't pay it the last time is because they was doing some work on Liquor City, and some of the work was on private property.
That's not true.
Yes, I have pictures, Mayor. And it was told to me that it was part of the 50/50 program where they do the sidewalks. Some of it, the Liquor City was supposed to pay, and to my knowledge, they did pay their portion, and that's when we agreed to pay that bill after they committed and paid their portion of that bill, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you.
Well, you are mistaken, because there was outstanding debt owed to that company prior to we even doing that work. Secondly, that work was not done on private property. That was city walkway that happened to go across the driveway where you would enter into Liquor City. It was our obligation to do it. It was so bad, it was a trip hazard. It was our obligation to do it, and then I asked Liquor City, since it ran across their driveway, would they contribute at least half for the payment? And they agreed.
Mayor, can I be recognized, sir?
Go ahead.
The only problem I have with that is there's residents that have the same problem. And I don't understand why we would do Liquor City and not do a residence sidewalk, especially some residents are handicapped. But more than that, my concern is we do have a village that needs a lot of sidewalk repair, needs a lot of tree trimming, but we don't have money. And so to not bring it to the board for a vote, and you don't know that we're going to vote yes or no, but to not bring it to the board for a vote causes a problem. When we don't have money, somebody's going to take it from somewhere. And I believe that this is the exact thing that happened across the years that made Chicago's money go in the general fund to pay these bills. Because if it doesn't have a line item and it appears on here, then what are we going to do? We got to pay it. Because if we don't pay it, somebody's going to sue the village and say, the mayor authorized it, so, you know, you have to pay it. And the village attorney is going to say the exact same thing. Well, the mayor, you know, yeah, the mayor spent it, so this board has to pay it. This board does not want to pay anything that's not going to be in that budget. If it's not in the budget and you want to do it, you should bring it to the board and let the board approve it. Either a yes vote or a no vote, but you should bring it to the board because we don't want to get the surprises that we get.
The
We
history.
don't know what's going to be on the warrant list.
Well, first I'm going to address the fact that you said some of these residents want to get the sidewalks done. Where do you think those bills are from?
No,
And we have pictures of why those sidewalks are done. There was one sidewalk we did at 144th in Dorchester. It was raised over a foot. And the resident there told me, Mayor, you ought to see the kids when they come down here and ride their bikes in the evening time, how they fall off their bikes. And you talk about, well, you get a surprise where the mayor said pay the bill. What about the surprise when you get a lawsuit for $20,000 or $50,000 because of the liability of the sidewalk? We take those in consideration as being emergency situations. We haven't replaced any sidewalks for cosmetic reasons. We replace the sidewalks where they create a clear liability for the village. You can spend $4,500 to replace a sidewalk, and you can spend $150,000 on a lawsuit. Which one do you want to pay?
Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm saying is, if you bring it to the board, we could look at the entire budget, and we could take something away from one part of the budget to take care of some of these issues. If you don't give us a chance to do that, then
the history of this board is kick it down the road. Table it. Or if it's something that you think that I decided to do, is voted against or table. This board has not acted in a timely fashion to get things done. And that's been the history of it. It's not that I'm trying to circumvent your power, if that's the way you want to put it. But there's certain things, and even if you put this ordinance in place, where you want the procedures and everything to come before the board, and you can ask Janice. We get situations where they said, listen, if you don't pay this bill, you ain't gonna have no phone service. And to get all these board members in one place at one time to agree to pay that bill is very tough to do.
okay, Mayor, I really wasn't finished, but what I wanted to add to that is everybody up on this board knows that Chicago is looking into our water fund on a regular basis to make sure we don't touch the money as we did in the past, or I should say as was done in the past. What are we going to do? Where are we going to get this money? I mean, we take money out of TIF funds. That's illegal. I mean, well, it's not totally illegal, but it should not ever be done. Money came out of the Chicago Water Fund account. That should never be done. Sooner or later, you run out of money. So even though there's services that people need, when you run out of money, you run out of money, and we can't take other people's money. That's like going to your next door neighbor's house and going in his drawer to get money to pay your car note. I mean, and when you buy the car, you know you can't afford $800 a month. You can only afford $300, but you go to your neighbor's house and take $500 out of his drawer to pay your car note. Sooner or later, he gonna stop you, and that's what has happened here. Chicago has stopped us from using water fund money. And so therefore, we have to live within our budget. And if the money is not in the budget, we can't spend it under any circumstance, because where are we going to get it from?
You know, you keep beating this like a dead horse. The accounts have already been segregated. They've already been segregated. Everything that's been paid out of the general fund, out of the TIF fund, you agreed upon.
But
the village administrator was here, and you know, you want to put it on me, or the mayor, what happened to the money? You know what happened to the money.
What happened?
You voted on all of this. You spoke with the village administrator. You know what the village administrator was doing. But yet still you want to put it on me. You know, this board usually 99% votes unanimously for anything that comes across here. Anything. So, you know, you want to make it like, oh, it's the mayor's fault. It ain't the mayor's fault.
Mayor, may I be recognized? May I be recognized, Mayor?
Hey, I think we've established what you want to do.
And all I want to say is that
we've talked about this water bill. You know, the counts have been segregating. You know that.
items on this warrant list, Mayor, are not put on here by this board. This board just agrees to pay it or not pay it, but we don't put them on here. Every blue moon, like the fountain the other day, that's something this board put on here. But other than that, we don't put items on here.
Who puts them on there?
Your administration puts them on.
My administration, they get on the warrant list to be paid by the trustees. Or the regular bills that come in every month are on the warrant list. And you see everything, you pick it apart. You pick these line items apart, you pick this budget apart, and there's things that you don't want to pay, just like you did with the sidewalks, you didn't pay.
Mayor, may I be recognized, please?
No, I think we talked enough on this.
Mayor, we got quite a few items
What
concerning
else?
this, because this is basic discussion. We're taking it down to one item. We only got one item. Can we continue to discuss this so the residents can understand exactly what's going on?
You
with
just
the
read
ordinance?
it.
We
You
need,
just read it.
We need further discussion on the ordinance, Mayor.
We don't need further discussion on this.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
I'm going to move on. Next thing on the agenda is citizens' address. Anyone that want to address this body, they can come up to the podium.
They won't have anything.
Mayor, that's not right.
We're not through with discussion
Shut
on this
these
ordinance.
down.
Anyone that wants to address this body can come up to the board meeting. Can come up to the
This is
board.
That's
a Board of Trustees meeting.
Yes.
And you won't let trustees.
And we discussed
speak.
it.
Mayor, I have something I would like to say, if you don't mind.
Citizens' address. Anyone want to?
That's wrong, because this is open for discussion, and you're just going to shut us down.
We just got done discussing.
I wasn't finished. I had something else I would
We
like
had
to
quite a
say.
few items, Mayor, related to the ordinance that needs to be discussed, Mayor. Quite a few items.
This is citizens' address. Anyone that want to approach this, wants to speak to this board, we just approach the podium. Okay.
Since no one's come to the podium, can we continue discussion on this very important ordinance, Mayor? We have quite a few items that we need to discuss for the public and this
What
board.
items do you have to discuss,
If
trustee?
you would recognize us, we'll discuss them, sir.
What items do you have to discuss?
I would yield to Trustee Stubbs.
Go ahead, trustee.
Thank you. I just wanted to let the residents know that just because we approve something and to be paid, that don't necessarily mean that it got paid, because we do not watch it when it's put into an envelope, mailed off to a vendor. We don't know. The only thing that we do is approve for items to be made. So, because there were so many irregularities in the warrant list that we received, and also we found out that everything wasn't even being put on the warrant list to be paid. So that's why this is important to us. It's for no other reason but to get clarity on the money. And also I want to state this. I know what's going on in my house, okay? And I have more property in the city of Chicago. I go over there to check to see what's going on because I own that place. So I don't take very kindly when the mayor says that Stan Irvin did this, Stan Irvin did that, and the trustees knew. He should have knew too, because he's supposed to be the head. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Mayor, can I be recognized, please?
Go ahead, trustee.
Okay, again, we kind of getting away from the whole point of this ordinance. It's not about us blaming you for anything, Mayor, but I want to clear up one thing you said about this board not a telephone bill not being paid. It's nowhere in the world that this board would not pay a telephone bill. But the way it's generally done when we have to pay a bill, what Ms. Redmond would do an email where we can get a consensus vote electronically to pay a certain bill that may have some kind of discrepancy. But we have discovered by us not having our internal controls into place, we discovered that the rental space that we rent over at the Dorchester has not paid rent in over 2 years, which is the daycare center and also the entertainment center that's controlled by, is it Giordano? They have not paid rent. They haven't even seen a water bill. So we need these internal controls because we're talking about layoffs. So in order to increase revenue, we have to get our internal controls together, because they are not. The whole purpose of this ordinance, as it states, is that all bills must come before the board, because when we get an expenditure for $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 and we blindsided by it, that becomes an issue, because we have to see if those monies are in the account, because we're flying by the seat of our pants by paying bills that which is in the bank. That's not the way you run a municipality. So the whole purpose of this ordinance is to establish a new procedure for the payment of bills. And as Trustee Pearson noted, when we receive the warrant list, everything is not on the warrant list. Case in point, the water payment. We pay over $225,000 a month to the city of Chicago. I think I've seen a payment to the city of Chicago one time on the warrant list. But we want to monitor it and make sure that those monies that are going to the city of Chicago are coming out of the water fund. We have to make sure in the future that, like it was done in the past, whether it was by Mr. Urban, whether he was dictated by someone else to pay it, that money stays in the water fund. As you stated, it's in segregated funds and it goes directly to the city of Chicago. For example, the city of Chicago, in agreement with the village of Dalton, wants $810,000 a year to pay the past due water bills. We have to make sure internally that those controls are in place so we don't have a situation where we're blindsided by people who are renting out of a space that we still own, which is the Dorchester, for over 2 years and paying about $7,000 to $8,000 a month that we haven't seen one penny of. They have not received a water bill. They haven't paid one penny on the water, and we owe for money. And this concrete work that's unauthorized, that's actually illegal. No one can submit an invoice to this municipality saying that work was done and it was not done. Now, there should be no silence on this board that would agree to pay an invoice when work was not done. This company that you're referring to, I remember a resident came up and said, can I get some money on my sidewalk? I think she said she paid, $10,000? And she was told there was no 50-50 program, but at the same time, this liquor store, we told them that they're going to have to pay 50% of that. That's why I was a holdup on that bill. But if you had some close looking at these bills with the trustees in mind, because nothing will be held up, we're holding up that which we cannot pay. I would prefer to get a proposal on my desk than getting an invoice on my desk of work that wasn't done, and they want the money on the front end. So that's the whole purpose of this, is to do this. And I'll say this last thing. The whole purpose of this is a procedure for the payment of bills that requires that no bill, invoice, or debt be paid without the approval of its voucher by the village board, and the voucher listing shall include the name and number of the specific line item in the current budget from which the bill, invoice, or debt will be paid. The amount of the line item is budgeted for in the current budget and the current balance remaining in that line item. For example, we had, I think it was Mr. Stacy that discovered it for us in the line item, that it was some testing done on the water that he noticed that it should have came out of the water fund, which was excellent on his part. And of course, Ms. Redmond said she would look at it. So we have to look at this diligently and see the internal controls are put in place, Mayor, so we don't have the issues that we're having now where we're blindsided by getting an invoice. So we're asking for a monthly report from the accounting department to show the expenditures and the revenue, so we can know monthly where our money is at, if we have that money in the bank to pay these bills, and what expenditures are being spent before they're given to someone without authorization by the board. And that was basically it. Thank you, Mayor.
Now, you mentioned the fact that the entertainment group that's renting the ballroom has not paid us any money in over 2 years. We haven't ran the operations of the Dorchester in over 2 years. The potential buyers have ran the operation. They have assumed responsibility for the bill payment and the revenues that come in that they received there. So that's not correct what you're saying, you know. And I can bring the group. I can't call it now. Giovanni group here to verify that, you know. There is, and Janice, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have been in a situation where our phone system was cut off and we had to pay it. We had to pay it. And so what do? We try to call everybody here and say, hey, y'all want to pay this bill, or we don't want to answer the phones for the residents?
Mayor,
I think we, and we're not going to beat this because we're going to get the citizens address, matter of fact, but we have been in a situation where our finance director and our administration, Ms. Janice here, had to make a decision who we're going to pay.
Mayor.
And so there's some situations where you have to make that call. And they've done it when we had our services continue. Go ahead, Trustee Henry.
Thank you. I just wanted to basically agree with what you just stated. You shouldn't make assumptions up here about any vendor that rents in the village of Dalton, because they are paying the people that currently took over the Dorchester. They do not pay us directly, but they pay, I don't know the company name, Mayor, but they do pay them, Giovanni's, to pay that company. So I just wanted to let that be known for the record.
We have not accepted any revenue or any liability for the Dorchester in over 2 years because the potential buyers from the Dorchester has assumed that responsibility. Now, they have submitted a $2 million payment toward the purchase of the Dorchester, which we have not touched. There's still $600,000 outstanding that they have to pay the village of Dalton to complete the sale. Okay. All right, citizens address.
Mayor,
No, we're done. We're done with this.
That you stated,
we done.
They have not collected those rents. Okay. I have a letter by the attorney Murphy, who is asking our Ms. Redmond, have monies been collected on that? The persons that we still own the Dorchester. The deal is not closed on the Dorchester. It's true they have secured all the debt on that building, but as far as collection of rents from those two entities, they have not collected, and they're wondering why we haven't collected, because we still own the building. Mm-hmm. According to the letter sent by Murphy to the new owners, the proposed new owners, we have not received rents, and I say they're respectively $7,000 to $8,000 a month. You do the math over 24 months plus, that's the amount that's due to the village that we may have to wind up suing them to get our rent, and that's according to Attorney Murphy.
It's not our rent according to the agreement that we did with the potential buyers.
The letter, get it.
It's not our rent.
We still own the Dorchester to this date.
I just confirmed that. I agree with you. The deal has not been completed, but they submitted a $2 million payment, which is still in the bank. We have not touched it. All right, we're going to go with citizens' address.
Letter.
Greetings to everyone in the village, citizens of Dalton, is what I should have said, the board and the mayor. I have a couple of questions to ask. First of all, is maintaining the weeds part of this? Is this one of the reasons that we have weeds growing all over, almost into the sidewalk in a lot of streets? And another question is past revenues that we've lost. We've had situations at the Melanie Center for a while now. And I don't know, I guess we still own it, I guess. But some of this stuff has been in disrepair for a long time now. And I'd also like to get an update on that. Is there anything that's going to be done to bring that gym back up to anywhere close to what it used to be? And I also noted the last time I was here, since we sit here and listen to all of your meetings, most of us anyway, for hours, and then when some of the board members get up and leave when citizens' address come on, I think that's very disrespectful. Two of you left last time. I'm not going to mention any names, but you know who I'm talking about. So if we can sit up here and listen to you all for hours and hours, and then you all get up and leave, that sends a signal. A signal that anybody can check on Channel 4 over there and see people booking up out of here before citizens' address even starts. And, it just seems like if you're going to respect, we need respect on both, going both ways. I mean, don't show us your behind as you're walking out of here as we got something to say, because I don't appreciate that. Next up,
I was one. I just want to say this. I had an emergency. I was one. I owned up to it. I informed the mayor that I had to leave. It was an emergency, because if it wasn't an emergency, I wouldn't have left.
Which mayor did you inform? Did you inform me?
It's only one mayor here, and I'm sorry that you think that this is funny, because if you was to tell the truth,
Here we go.
I informed you.
Here we go. You did
Mayor
not.
Riley Rogers.
You did not.
I did.
Excuse me, this is citizens' address, okay?
Right, thank you.
We don't interrupt you all.
I apologize
We don't
for
interrupt
leaving.
you all.
Thank you.
This all is fine, but at least have the courtesy to let us know, well, so-and-so won't be here. If this was a pre-planned absence or whatever, or if something came up, it takes just a few seconds to tell us what's going on. You don't just get up and leave. What if we got up and left every time you all, got up and speak? You all want a little respect. We want it too. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't hurt to let us know what's going on. I think everybody can agree on that. Now,
You're absolutely right.
this budget situation, we all know it's, how sticky it is. And I know there are good points on both sides. As far as this warrant lists are concerned, it would be helpful if maybe we could get some of that information. And I know you just had a finance meeting, but I found out about it the day before. I'm not faulting anybody, but, I don't check my email as much as I should. But maybe some regularly scheduled finance meetings, so we won't have to get notified at the last minute, and some of us can maybe show up, because that's a very important. I'll get 1 second. I'm almost done. Let me forget what I was going to say. Never mind. I just had a senior moment. Anyhow,
We'll start starting after October. We will have regularly scheduled meetings. That's what that ordinance was about. So it'll be regularly scheduled finance committee meetings that you all will also see those listings that I was just telling you about.
you said that's what that ordinance was about?
That's part of what that ordinance is, the report that we want to get from the village, that go to the finance committee so that we can see internally where these bills are going.
All that's well and good, but it seemed like you would have told us that.
That's part of, that will be discussed in October.
Just there's certain things that, cherry picking certain things to certain advantage, that shouldn't be the case. Just let us know, if this ordinance is, it's on the agenda. It seems like, that would have been one of the first things we as the citizens are concerned with what's going on with the budget. That should have been one of the first things that we were informed of. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but, that's just, seems like it should be common sense.
We're going to have regularly scheduled committee meetings after the October 1st meeting. It'll be
And I just have
announced
one more
October
brief
1st.
thing, and then I'll be out of your hair. I mentioned at the last meeting about the tax situation with the state and how the south suburbs are being shortchanged. And I would like to ask each and every one of you, have any of you all made any effort to connect with some of the other south suburban officials, even the Cook County Board President and people like that, and possibly connect with people that are going to be in office after this next election, and see if we can change that formula for getting some of our tax money back? I see no reason why, places like Lincoln Park and Hillside and Tinley Park and Orland Park should be getting more tax money back from the state than we do. I mean, percentage-wise. We're talking percentages here. I know they pay more into it, but if we could all get the same amount back, this would go a long way towards solving some of our budget problems, especially out here in the south suburbs where we are really starving for finances, and they are flushing money. I mean, it seems like somebody needs to get on a move on that. If we wait to the last minute, other things are going to get in front of that, and we won't ever get it done. I know it's a long, hard fight, but you got to start somewhere. You need to start doing this.
We need to address that. We have a South Suburban Mayors Group, and I think there was about 30 mayors that went down to Cook County, along with myself, and talked to the commissioners about the new regulations they're putting in for Class 8, which the commissioners voted to any job or any construction or any modifications, September 1st was the date they have to pay prevailing wages. And it's going to hurt the south suburbs because of the fact that some of these small companies that want to do remodeling and rehab and new construction, they can't really afford to pay the prevailing wage. And so that's an additional thing that's going to hurt the south suburbs. But we asked our commissioners to consider the fact that, we need some help here in the south suburbs and reduction of property taxes and corporate taxes. And unfortunately, they voted against us after about 20 mayors put on their presentations to the county board.
Well, all I can do is we got to keep trying.
So
You got to keep fighting it. Maybe go reach out to the media, because that's why they pulled it out of the media so quickly. They don't want people to know the inequities that's going on here. You get some pressure on this, we may get some movement.
Yeah, the media was there. There was articles in the Tribune, South Suburban Times. The Southtown. But all the mayors were in favor of some concessions in regards to the taxes for the south suburbs, because we are paying a higher amount of taxes than some of the northern suburbs, some of the north part of Cook County. But this area has just been assessed for the sake of realization. It's been assessed higher than every other area.
Have you reached out to the gubernatorial candidates?
Well, that's one of the platforms that the new candidate, Democratic nominee, J.B. Pritzker, is saying that they want some help out in the south suburbs for the property taxes.
Well, that settles that.
So, anyway, anyone else?
Good evening, citizens of Dalton, Mayor, Board. Quick question for me. I think that I'm in agreement that there should be processes in place to pay invoices. I think that every business that I've ever worked for has that in place. My question is, who will sit down and document and decide and define those processes? Anybody?
I'd be more if you would kind of go into a little detail of what you're saying so I can understand.
You were talking about putting processes in place to pay invoices, and you talked about the line items that it has to be paid for. Who will sit down at the table?
Yes, I think I understand your question. I hope I understand it. It would be the committee, the finance committee, would see these. And then, of course, as you know, after the finance committee sees that, if we have a consensus, then it's taken to the board. So you can get at least a consensus of at least 4 to 6 members voting for that agreement of that particular bill. Right now, there's nothing in place. There's nothing in place, just like I mentioned before. But I don't want to get off your point, but to answer your question, it would come under the finance committee. There will be a consensus vote among the finance committee and then given to the board. And as I said, we don't have to physically meet for that. It can be done by telephonically or email, electronically, which how it's been done in the past.
Would you consider having the residents sit in and discuss what processes?
It's a committee meeting. That means that by state statute that the public is invited. It has to be 48-hour notice because it's a public meeting, meaning there has to be a clerk involved that has to be published 48 hours before the meeting. And as Mr. Lee was asking, I can't give you the date on that yet because I haven't discussed it with Trustee House or Trustee Hinyard, who are part of the finance committee. So if I say it's going to be every third Tuesday of the month, I haven't discussed it with them. We got to find out what's amenable to their schedules.
So just to clarify, when you say that it can be done by email or by phone?
Consensus vote, yes.
The consensus vote from the committee members?
Yes.
So in taking in consideration what the residents may have to say, that will be a part of the decision making?
That would be in the committee meeting. When you say decision making, you're saying the residents as far as paying a bill?
No. That's not. I'm talking policy only. Your processes. So the processes that you want to put in place, will the residents have an opportunity to give some feedback or some buy-in, and that's actually considered in deciding what processes will take place?
My vision is to have in hand, like we did at our last meeting that you attended, have in hand with the residents the actual list so they could see it. They can see where all of these bills are going, who some of these vendors are, some of the actual payments that they're asking for. that they will see it just as those who come. But as you know, we don't get the crowds like that I talked about before. We didn't get the crowd like we got on August 10th because we're talking straight numbers, what we got in the bank and what could be paid. So when you say the input from the residents, they'll get to see it. They may have a question about, what is the tree cutting people, Pekarsky. They may ask Pekarsky, why are we paying them $10,000 to cut down trees? And that has to be responded to.
So I'm specifically asking, though, about the process. So if you're saying there's a process that's going to be in place, invoice comes in, what happens next? Not saying whether you pay it or not. I want to understand what the process is going to be to make that payment. So an invoice comes into Ms. Redmond's office. That invoice is given to the board to look at. What processes are you going to do to make sure the bill gets paid or not?
Yes.
I'm just asking if the residents will be a part of that, not what it is tonight, because it hasn't been established, right? Okay. That's what I'm asking. So every finance meeting, or not everyone, but before this ordinance goes out, you'll have something in place? Yes?
Let me answer your question, see if I understand it. This particular finance report that we would get from Ms. Redmond would show the expenditures and what's in the bank. We never see that. Trustee Pearson has asked, do we have the money to pay the water bill? And we're told yes. But see, that's an open-ended question. Do we have money out of the water fund to pay the water bill? You got the water fund, which is a totally separate issue than the corporate fund, which is how we pay the bill. So the residents will get to see that money that we have in the bank, just like the city of Chicago can see the money we have at MB Bank to pay our water bill every month with the arrearages plus the current bill. The residents' input would be able to see it, they can monitor, they can ask questions like yourself, or they may ask about a particular item. When you say the process, again, this is a brand new, the ordinance was introduced tonight, so between now and the first, we may tweak this and add some amendments to the ordinance, but it was just read for the first time tonight. So those processes are in place. We're working with an accounting firm to fine-tune some of those things that we're calling internal controls to get a hold of the monies that we have coming in. And the input of the residents will be in a public open meeting.
That's, and I want to interject this. It has been the history of the four that vote for you not to listen to the public. You know, the public sits here and listen, and they come to this podium and plead with the four on some issues that, in the majority of the residents, some issues that they think are not right, and it falls on deaf ears. So I don't see the benefit of the residents' input, because it hasn't been favorable. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I'm still, I guess we'll talk one-on-one about, just to clarify, the processes. Not so much my input on the invoice. I want to understand what the process is. So we don't have to talk about that anymore. I just have one other comment. I know that next meeting is voting meeting, and the budget will come up again. I'm just going to ask, has there been any more considerations of other cuts other than folks' positions? I don't know Scott personally, but I know that he does a lot of work for the village. And to lose that type of personnel, and then we will be faced with more and more of a debt trying to get repairs done. That's just one example. So is there any other options that's being considered aside from just cutting staff the way we're going to cut staff? And I don't know. Let me ask Pearson. I won't ask. No?
We've looked at the budget.
You looked at it?
Come up with anything else there.
Nothing. Are you going to continue to look, or
Yeah,
is
I look at it every single day.
every day? Okay. You,
Every day.
no wiggle room?
Not yet. I haven't found anything.
Whereas I think that would be a great loss to the village to lose someone that's doing the repairs at a salary that he probably could. I don't know him from Adam, but I just know that he does work here. And there's a lot of the other positions that are up, and I know you guys have heard this before. I think that if we don't consider a different option, the residents are going to lose out. There are services that are provided by some of the people that will be let go that we really need. And to make a phone call and not have someone pick it up, what are we going to do?
I want to know when we get an emergency situation and we need to have something done and repair. And we've ran into several situations like that. And there is no Scott that we can call at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, like when the heat went out at the police department. What do? Put it out for RFP and wait till everybody get together and have them freeze over there and figure out what we're going to pay, what contractor we're going to pay at a rate that would be a greater extent. It's going to cause an additional expense for this village than what we do with Scott. Call a heating guy out on Sunday. And see how the rate doubles, and then they want to get paid COD because of the bad press that they've heard about Dalton and how they pay their bills. It's a perfect example of this sidewalk company. Perfect example. When some of these board members beat up on Dalton, you know how credit is, just for this reason, we can't pay this, we can't pay that. You don't think the public hears that? You don't think vendors hear that? Okay, Dalton, yeah, you want us to do something for you? We want a COD.
I just think that it could be considered. Just consider that particular role. As all of them are important to us as residents, and I know that cuts are going to be inevitable, but let's look again at the cuts that we're making and how it's going to impact this village as a whole. If we can't save every position, reconsider some of the ones that are vital to the blood that's pumping through the veins of Dalton. Because honestly, the blood that's pumping right now, it seems a bit tainted, and I really don't want to go in a negative way. I just really think that you really think about reconsidering some of the important positions that keeps us moving and keeps us informed. I wouldn't know about half the meetings if I didn't get the text message. And I don't come and look at the door. I just don't. I don't have that kind of time. So I'm just asking, consider, we got a couple more weeks before vote, and I think that the residents would appreciate having some services if we can't have them all. Thank you.
And it's fine to put a procedure in place for paying bills, but I think that there should be a provision in here for an emergency situation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mayor, department heads, board. Hi, can you hear me now? I know Mr. Steve is coming. Thank you. I totally agree with everything that was just said. I'm really, really concerned about the positions here that you guys are considering cutting. I've been here approximately 2 years in December. And like as I said a couple of months ago at one of the coffee with the mayor, Dalton has a reputation. But when I moved here, I was so pleased with all of the things that were going on, all of the events that I were aware of, how I was informed of everything, the work from Public Works that I received when I made a call, when I come up to Village Hall, how my questions are answered. If I miss a board meeting, I can go on YouTube. I can see it on Channel 9 or Channel 44, whatever those channels are, if I can see them. But I really came up here because I was a little concerned with this conversation about 5-star. I'm hearing Trustee Muhammad go on and on and on, and Trustee Pearson about some of the work that wasn't done and you didn't want to pay in advance. Totally agree. But why did you not know that the company had not been paid in prior years? It just seems like you guys build up this case to come before us and just shoot people down without having all of the background. You know, it just really seems bad. And I totally agree. 5-star for them to continue to do work for us, and we haven't paid them from prior years. We're not going to always have that type of service. And I understand what you guys are trying to do by trying to budget, but I just think that we need a new plan going forward. We can't try to go back and fix everything, and we definitely can't go back and cut people's jobs. I think we need a plan in place. We just stick with it. I'd like to see more input from other board members. I mean, every trustee is over a department. So who's over the Public Works should already know what's going on in Public Works. You shouldn't just come here and read a report that somebody gives you every meeting without going in, sitting down with that individual, with those supervisors, with those workers. I mean, go to the police department, get this info. It just seems like everything is like staged. I just want to see more energy put into trying to save the village instead of trying to tear it down. That's all I have.
Okay, I'd like
So
to
you know,
adjourn.
we do meet with the department heads, man. We meet with the police, we meet with the fire, we meet with all the department heads, water, those. So when you see a report being given, we had some, that's what I mean. We meet with those departments and those department heads, even before we come to the public. Ms. Creighton.
Good evening. I'd like to, at this time, invite the Village of Dalton to our District 205 March for Peace, which will take place on Saturday, October the 20th. And this is for our Student Board of Education that represents all 3 schools in District 205, Thornridge, Thornton, and Thornwood. We're asking you to help us unite and end the violence. You are invited to join us for our march through our communities. Together, we can make a change. Let's bring the peace. Join the movement. I just, you know what? And the logo that the young people are running with this year, as they did last year and the year before, better together, stronger forever. These are young people from the ages of 14 to 18. They're asking that you meet us at St. Ascension Catholic Church, 15234 Myrtle in Harvey, Illinois. We have DJ, food, and fun. We've tried to have it here at Dalton last year, didn't work out. So we've gone back to Harvey to unite. The band will be there. We're asking that you guys come out and support young people on the March for Peace. The date will be October the 20th. It will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's really an awesome time of seeing young people come together. We have a DJ, we have a lot of things planned, jumpy houses, everything's catered, everything is free. All we need is your hands, your feet. We have carts that will drive individuals that cannot walk. So I'm just asking you guys, the trustees, the mayor.
Is
Yes.
it possible you can get a flyer together quickly to give to the media department so
We have
use it
flyers already
and give
established.
it to Mr. Steve so he can go on Channel 499 and the website, because that's a great thing you did, and sorry for the politics that got in it last year that it didn't happen to kick off in Dalton. But whatever we can do to promote what you're doing with the youth, and as a chairman of the youth committee, I think that we don't do enough to promote what you're doing with the youth, Ms. Creighton. So if you would please get that to the media director, whereas we can put it, hopefully it will be put up on our site. We have a Facebook page, we have the VO Dalton site, Channel 499. That would help at least promote it for the individuals out here who are viewing this. We have more people viewing than the actual audience members.
Thank you. We do have a flyer already established. We have it in, the young people put it together in Spanish and in English. They've been very diligent and I'm hoping they've sent the mayor a letter already asking for your attendance, because you have been in attendance.
Yeah, I've been the last 2 marches. Harvey.
Yes, that's what I said. You've been there. And also, I want to mention that restorative justice is something that I feel very heartfelt about. We are training parents and community members on restorative justice. Who's done the harm? How can we fix the harm? Our police department has been trained in restorative justice, and we're asking that now for School District 148 that we have 5 workshops coming up to train individuals who are interested in becoming aware of what restorative justice can do. So we're inviting you. It's all free of charge. They will be held at the Dalton Park. And there are dates here that I will leave with Mr. Steve, and I'll leave copies on the back. Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay, to lead those, but we will be training at this time from School District 148. We have over 375 parents already signed up. So I'm asking you guys, if you're interested in being trained in restorative justice, I and a group of other young people will be training adults as well as students, community members, who's ever willing to become a restorative justice facilitator. And I have one last question. When we came over and we were going through the budget last week, I have a question because someone brought up a comment about the bond. We have an outstanding debt that's on the Dorchester. The company that purchased the Dorchester, did they pay that bond that we had outstanding?
Why would they pay it?
Well, they purchased it. I'm just thinking that if I purchase something, I take on the debt. I've heard many times that if we sell a piece of property, that everything has to be paid. Or am I just, I've misconstrued it and I don't understand it.
I don't think that was in the original agreement, and the bond that was outstanding, it had been outstanding for, what was it, 20 years? Yeah, a couple of bonds that was outstanding way before the agreement was made for the purchase.
I understand.
So
Go ahead.
that obligation, it was the village's obligation. You know, when I came into office, we had an outstanding bond from 2001 that we had to, and they asked me how was it spent. I didn't know how it was spent. You know,
Right.
they gave us some relief in regards to payment of the bond, and but that's some of the stuff that was outstanding when the administration came in.
So my concern is that when I establish a contract with someone, if there is any outstanding debt, I assume that company, and what's the name of the company? Do we have it on record?
I have it.
I just understand that when we have that bond issue, and I'm saying, wow, they didn't purchase the debt. We didn't resolve the debt in the contract, in the drawing of the contract. So we're still out of that. How much is it? 10 is.
And I don't know what the outstanding amount of the bond was,
But that's a question.
That depends on how the agreement is actually set up.
Exactly.
And I don't think any purchaser of a piece of property that you may have an outstanding bond to that extent, and I'm not sure that all that money was used for the Dorchester when the bond was actually taken out. So I wouldn't assume it.
Okay,
If I
it
was
was
gonna
just a
make the purchase.
question that
Yeah.
I had because it surprised me that it was not included in, or to some degree, it wasn't included in the contract agreement.
I don't think so.
They wouldn't have, but they still haven't bought it. Is that correct?
It's closed. The deal is close to being closed.
Okay.
But the village got the money. I'm sorry. Thank you. The village got the money from the bond whatever year it was before our time. So
Right.
I think it was $10 million. I'm not sure. But the village got that money to do whatever they were going to do with it. So the new owners are not going to assume the debt because the village got it. So why would they pay that money back? And we want to sell it because we're hemorrhaging. We were hemorrhaging about $800,000 to $1 million a year, and we were glad they took it away from us because if they didn't, we'd still be hemorrhaging right now.
Okay, so we still, even after selling it, we would have that.
We still have that debt.
We still have that debt.
For 10 years.
For 10 years. Okay, and let me say something, and I mean no disrespect to anyone. I am ashamed to call individuals my elders that laugh at me when I come to the podium. I was hurt, and every time I'm hurt, that individuals that I look at as being my elders, that I show you respect, and things are not funny. I don't think things are. We come here because we want to be educated, and I love every last one of you all. I'm not asking you to love me, but to respect me. I just think that's fair. I believe that we all care about what's happening in our village. I do. We show it in different shape, forms, or fashion, but we all care. So I would say to you that I love each and every one of you. And I pray that you love me regardless of whether we agree or disagree. That's what we teach our children, and that's what we teach in restorative justice, to love each other in spite of. Thank you.
Okay. I just want, oh, Diane, you had something to say? Okay.
Good evening, residents. I would just like to know why was item 2 and 3 taken off of the agenda for tonight? So if this is the meeting of the cow, this is when you're to hear from the residents how they feel about each one of these proposals or ordinance or whatever it is, and it was just taken off. So next time we hear this, we won't be able to give our opinion, and this is what it's all about, the meeting of the cow, so the residents, you can hear from the residents what they want to do or try to see how they feel about some of this stuff. So now we've lost our opportunity to say anything or how we feel. And see, this is the whole problem that we're having as residents. I mean, we do come and express our opinion. That's what it's for. That's why we're here. But it's never listened to. We know once we get here, we know what's going to be passed and what's not going to be passed. We know this when we come to the meeting. So for us not to have a chance to especially address 3, we already know about 2. 3 is new. And I did want to understand what that whole request for a proposal for the media center. I mean, what is it? I mean, can you just briefly tell me what that is about?
No, it's not for discussion. It was removed from the agenda. We can't discuss it. It was removed from the agenda.
Okay, I'm asking why was it removed?
Discuss it. It was removed from the agenda.
He's not going to tell you, so you're wasting your time.
If an item is removed from the agenda, there is no discussion on it.
I understand. You know what? I understand. I understand what you're saying.
This is exactly what I was talking about earlier.
I understand, Mayor. I understand. But see, for you to just, at least you can say, well, I removed it because, or I mean.
Can I answer that for you?
Sure.
Because it shouldn't have been on here in the first place because it was inappropriate for today.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next meeting, is this going to come up?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all. See, that's all I asked for a question. Thank you, Ms. Stubbs.
The Bears game is on, everybody.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing, Barbara?
Board and residents. I have one question that I didn't understand. The last lady that was up. Okay, the last lady that was up, you said that with the cut that you all met with the department heads. Am I clear? That you met with, she asked you, did you meet with the department heads of everyone that was being cut?
I think her question was concerning talking to I think if I understood it, she said talking to department heads, talking to some of the employees or something to that effect.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think that's my understanding. I may not be correct.
So how did you come up with your cuts if you talked to the department head? In other words, the department head is the person that's supposed to know the quality of an individual's work. So it seems to me that if you talk with the department head, you did what you wanted to do anyway, because I feel that a department head is supposed to know the quality of the work that is being done in their department. Is that correct?
Yes, but it has nothing to do with the quality of work.
What has to do with it?
It has to do.
Just cut, huh?
Let me explain it.
Just cut.
Monetarily,
just cut. When a person is doing an excellent job, just cut.
What it has to do with is the following. Our budget is approximately $18 million a year. We don't bring in $18 million a year to pay all of our bills. We have had a deficit of at least maybe.
But in the meantime, once this cut is made, how are you going to pay the people that is going to replace them, or is in these departments, it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 people in the department is going to do the work of one person?
What happens is, as in many companies, you have many hats because you have to multitask. But what I was trying to answer to your question, ma'am, is that we don't bring enough money into the village to pay all the bills. we have a deficit running every year. So the solution to that has been to borrow money to pay the bills. But when you borrow money, which is a bond, you're borrowing another one the year after, but you're not taking over the internal controls that causes that issue that you have a hole in the deficit. Everybody on this board will agree that we don't bring in enough revenue every year to pay the bills. So what
How
we've
many
done-
years has that been going
At
on?
least for 5 years, my association with this, but I'm sure it's been done years before that, but I'm
But
talking
we
about
never
the 5.
dealt with anyone cutting important people that handled important jobs. I think if you're going to cut, you don't cut people that handle important jobs. And I do notice that one thing that you are the spokesman for everything. Everything, I notice that you are the spokesman. And when I look at these 3 items here, Mr. Muhammad, everything is your name.
That's an error. As the trustee tried to state it, let me explain to you how that works. It's up to the trustees to submit items to the agenda to the clerk. We get an agenda Thursday previous to the meeting. If no trustee submits anything to the clerk, then we have nothing for the agenda. So what we do as a group, we may call one particular trustee and say, put this on the agenda. My name just happened to be on the agenda because I submitted it to the clerk. Those items that were submitted were supposed to have been for a regular board meeting. The reason why my name is on there because I'm the one that submitted it to the clerk. That's why you see my name on there.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll see Pearson's name on every
No, I
item.
have never seen him.
It has.
I see your name. I've never seen his name.
It has been many times.
Okay,
so.
I haven't never noticed, but I notice I see your name all the time.
Because
And
I'm
then
involved
when I'm
every
looking
time.
at this one, all I see is your name.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
like you are orchestrating everything that's going on.
No, it takes at least 4 to 6 votes to make any legislation pass. It's not on one person.
Okay.
It's not on
But
one person.
I'm
Person can't.
I'm hoping that what I'm seeing and what I feel is incorrect. It just seems like you are pro tem and you are orchestrating everything that goes
The
on.
one thing we
And
have-
it's very
Yes, ma'am.
vengeance.
The
It's
one-
like it's vengeance to me. It's just not. It's not business.
The one
at
thing
all.
we have to understand, and with all due respect, I tried to state it, we don't get enough revenue in here on an annual basis to pay our bills. So what has been done in the last 5 years or more was to borrow money, similar to a payday loan, to pay salaries, to pay vendors. It's been done yearly, and we're trying to find a way so we don't have to. I don't want to get caught up in the details of it, but this village has not been run solvent, at least for the last 5 years. The reason why I put 5 years, because I started out as an employee and I saw it back then up until now as a trustee.
How long have
We
you
bring
been
in
on the board?
$18 million, but you're spending 20, 21, 22
How
million
long have you been on the board?
since 2015.
15.
2015, yes,
That's
ma'am.
3 years.
2015.
3 years. Okay. So was the board in this predicament under the
You have
past administration?
board members can answer that for you. Be previous to me, they can answer it
Okay.
if they would like, because you have at least 2 members on here that were here previous to 2015, and they can tell you the financial condition of the board if you like to ask them. You have 2 that been here since
I'm
2013.
not trying to be argumentative with you or anything. I just want a clear understanding, because it seems to me that the cuts are really vengeance.
We're
and
spending
seems to me
more
that
than what we're bringing in.
And I think that when you have your budget meetings, I think the village should be invited.
We
so
had a
we can hear
budget
what's
meeting
going on.
last week. We had one August 10th also.
But it should be posted where we can really
And it's
see
posted
it
by
and
law
know.
48 hours before. It's on Channel
And let
4,
us
it's on
know
Channel
that what it's
99,
gonna
it's
be,
on the
because I
website.
just feel that it's vengeance myself. I don't, it's not
Yes, ma'am.
professional at all.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
it's
With all due
vengeance.
respect, I disagree with you, ma'am.
Well, I do, but I feel that way.
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
feel like it's vengeance, and I feel that you, Mr. Muhammad, is
Yes,
running
ma'am.
everything.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I want to remind Trustee Mohammed that when he was in charge of the Melody Fitness Center, and when he was running the revitalization of the youth center, that he had no problem with paying the spa people in advance.
That's right.
And he had no problem with paying $64,000 out to the rehab person that was doing the youth center. But now all of a sudden, it's election time coming up. Now all of a sudden we're so concerned about how we spend our money.
That's right.
But it was was no concern when he wanted things done at the Melanie Fitness Center when we pay for the spas in advance. And we paid $64,000 for the youth center that's not completed. How soon we forget. Go ahead, Georgia.
Good evening, everybody, to the mayor, to the trustees. The mayor pointed out what I was about. I asked in the audience. Muhammad said, Trustee Muhammad said that for the last 5 years or something, okay, we forget so fast. You said that the money, we never had the money to pay all the bills. Well, what happened to the youth center that they gave you the money? Did you put the money back in there?
Want me to answer it?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Okay. The money was approved by the board for $64,000. It was going to be completed by August of that year. It was near completion, and it was shut down.
Okay, but
And
so
again,
what
I
happened
don't
to
wanna
the
use-
money?
The money that was used did the rehabbing of the facility. We were about 2 or less than 3 months completion. And before the completion could happen, and again, I don't want to turn this into a political rally to go back and forth with the mayor or yourself, but I'm answering your question as simply as I can. The money was used by a contractor who was a resident of Dalton. He was near completion, and just before completion, the mayor shut the project down. It was going to be completed in about less than 3 months. That's the simplest answer I can give you, but
Okay,
I don't
now-
want to use your time up because it's citizens.
But, okay, now, I was here when the inspector was talking to you. Maybe you forgot about that, saying what wasn't fair and what wasn't done. I remember that. I've been a part of this for some years. Now, we forget so fast, but I just want to know, you always on everybody else, but you forget what the road that you have come down. You haven't been that person that you should be either. So why is you poking everybody else in the back? I mean, I notice it every meeting we have. This meeting can go so good. You got to throw a monkey wrench in there. Politics this and politics this. You got to remember, Muhammad, Melanie, in Melanie part of the village. What happened to all that money from all the parties? The village should have got some of that money.
You want me to answer
So the
Melanie
village
Fitness
broke?
for you?
Okay, but all that parking, paying for parking and dancing, what happened to that? We should have some of that money. You forget the road that you come down. You got to be so careful. Don't throw stones when you're living in a glass house yourself. Thank you.
Let me answer that. On the Melanie Fitness Center, it costs us $200,000 a year to keep that open. $200,000 a year, and that's what it's costing the village to keep
Good
it.
evening, everybody, to the mayor, the board. It's just one big question I have. I would like someone to answer it. Now, the trustee said the village is broke. But I can't understand how a broke village can hire an expensive lawyer. Who's paying for it? Are you paying out of your pockets, the four of you? Can someone answer that question? Or is it coming out of the
That
village
question
funds?
was asked actually by the mayor last week at our meeting, and that attorney has cost us for the year $9,000 compared to...
Who's paying for that?
It has cost us $9,000 compared to about $112,000 by the attorneys of the village.
I mean,
So that's
I'm
the
talking
total
about the
bill for
lawyer
our
that the
attorney for the
trustee
year,
had.
$9,000, which is paid out of the...
Who's paying that?
It's paid out of the corporate fund. Just like the other
Why couldn't they
attorneys
pay
are
some
paid
of
out
those
corporate
big?
funds.
We have a lawyer. We have a lawyer here.
That we're paying $112,000 for, and that was reprimanded by a judge because of conflict of interest, which caused us to get our own attorney. And
So it's still, it doesn't matter. If the village is broke and you're laying people off or firing them or whatever you're doing, that money could have been paid for somebody's salary, $9,000. Well, how much you say?
$9,000.
$9,000. You know, it didn't come out of your pocket. I'm sure it didn't come out the four of you's pocket.
Yes, it did.
And she sent us
It came out of your pockets? I don't believe it.
Because we're all tax-paying residents, just like
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Well, that's it. Our taxpayers are paying for their
Yes.
salary, but you're firing them. But
And
you're
we're paying
hiring
for
somebody.
every salary up here.
The answer you would not answer my question. It's okay.
Good evening, Mayor,
Hey, Deborah.
trustees, and the residents of Dalton. I had a question. I know we're talking about the finance, and I guess this question it's a good time. I hope that we all work together, the trustees, work together to build Dalton versus trying to tear it down. But one of the things that came to my attention was that the Village of Dalton has a mortgage with Capital Mortgage, and that they buy these houses. No, we are giving them the houses, and we're not getting anything back in return for the houses. Is that correct? If we so broke, then we certainly should be. If they are fixing and selling houses,
No,
this is the story that I was told.
Not true.
Okay.
It's the story that you was told.
It's a story.
Right. That's the story that I've been told, that they are fixing houses and selling. We giving them the houses for free. They are fixing these houses. They are selling the houses, and Dalton is not getting anything in return.
True.
That shouldn't be happening.
It's not true.
What do we
Because
get?
you wouldn't sell your house for free
not
and get
true.
nothing out of it. So what is the story? Anybody can talk.
That's not
You're
true,
right
ma'am.
on what you're saying.
That is
I
correct.
advocate for what you're saying. I want to get rid of BP Capital. I'm no fan of them being here in the Village of Dalton. I want to give the houses to the residents. Like, for instance, I door knock, right? If I come to your house and you say, my child lives in my basement, I want her to have a house. Why can't she have a house for $5,000 that we have in the Village of Dalton? Why would we give our entire inventory to this one company? Why?
Well, why
we didn't
don't
get paid
anything
for it or
back
anything.
in return? Even
I
if
agree.
we do have that set up.
I totally agree. You should
Even if
get
we go
something.
with that scenario, but Dalton certainly should get something out of this.
I agree.
And why is that a good idea? How did that even get passed? What is the thought process behind that? And how did we get to that particular mortgage
Well,
company?
some of those questions will be answered since I'm being sued by some members of this board to sign over the deeds to BP Capital. You know, I want to know how much they're getting for these houses.
Yeah, I would like
Since
to know
we
what they're
giving
getting
them-
for the houses as well.
since we
And why
giving them
aren't
away
we getting
free.
anything from the sale of these houses?
Now, I've had investors.
We're talking about how broke we are.
Yes, thank you.
Certainly, we should be getting something out the deal.
Let me explain to you. You know, I actually have, I'm trying to address this lady right here, and I'll be glad to talk with you because I've been looking at the budget again today too, because I still have concerns, okay? But, excuse me. I'm sorry, you said your name was?
My name is Deborah.
Miss Deborah. You have two programs. You have Invest in Dalton, where the village invested, the trustees, at least five trustees, voted to pay $30,000 to an attorney to get the liens off of the property. So we would be able to sell those houses for $40,000. Now, the $30,000 and they were $5,000 each to get the title off of the houses, any liens. And so therefore, once the houses are sold, the Village of Dalton, and I'm going to say it again, the Village of Dalton will receive their $5,000 back. And that's per house.
That's it?
I'm
But
not
what are they
finished.
selling the houses for?
These investing houses, and there's only 6 of them, that would be for $40,000. And that's
Each
rehab.
house is selling for $40,000. Is that what you're saying?
Only six
Right.
6 houses
I hear you.
will be sold for $40,000. They have to qualify for a $40,000 loan. The Village of Dalton will receive their acquisition money, that's what it's called, we'll receive that back. That's $5,000. Now, the other part of the program is BP Capital. And I have to say this to you. On Michigan is a couple, the Joneses. The Joneses are about 80 years old. They're on one side of the street. I want you to picture this. The Miss Keys is on the other side, right next door. and in between is an abandoned house full of raccoons. The grass is tall as I don't know what, and BP Capital have picked up this piece of property to rehab it for home ownership. They have invested their own money. They didn't get it didn't cost the village a dime for this abandoned house. Now, they shouldn't have to live in between this abandoned house that's infested with raccoons, boarded up, grass is high. These people should not have to live there. So they took their own money. They got a clear title on it. Okay? They're going to rehab it. They will sell it. And what the village will receive is this, because nobody ever say this. When they go and apply for a roof, because they need a roof, we'll get money for permits for roofs. They'll also get monies if any plumbing work is done, any electrical work is done. We'll receive that money.
That's the permit money.
Right.
That's little money.
Hold on. I'm not
That's little
finished.
money, though.
Also, we receive money for taxes. Maybe not this year, but next year. But can I also state this? Now, you don't know how much it's going to cost to rehab this deplorable house, and it have been said that all the houses that BP Capital have picked out, they cherry-picked it, they don't need that much work. That's untrue. I've been to some of them, and I've saw the condition in which they're in. And when it was all said and done, I asked him how much did he pocket for himself after he did the house on Cottage Grove. I'm not sure of the 100. I think it was like 155th or 156th. And this is a house that that I've been in after it was rehabbed, along with another trustee. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, new furnace, new air conditioner, roof. They put some money into this house, and after it was all said and done and sold, his profit was $35,000.
How do you sell it?
Above the 40?
How do you sell it? Indeed, hasn't been signed yet.
Excuse me. Maybe that slipped by you. I don't know if you signed that one or not. But this one have been rehabbed, sold to a young lady. And I think a couple of other trustees went over there and looked at the house too. And the house, it was done very nicely. And all he profit from that house was $35,000. And that was after he bought all his materials, paid all his permit fees, whatever else. You know, this is what had transpired. And it's a really nice house. So it depends on what the house need versus how much he's going to receive off of the sale of the house. And then you have another house. It's on University, where the tree is growing in the front yard. And
Front living room.
in the living room. I kid you not. And the man that lived next door to him, and if you come to the next board meeting, I promise you I will have you some pictures. Okay? And
Mayor.
because this is deplorable for a person to have to pay $6,000 in taxes, and they have to live next door to this. And in conclusion to your question, I want to say this about that program. You know, all of a sudden, everybody want to come up, bash this man, bash this program, don't give them no houses. I just want to know, where have all of these people been that want to invest in the abandoned houses out here? I just want to know, where have they been for the last 3-4 years, or even since 2008? Now, I have to say this to you, ma'am. You have investors out here. I kid you not. One investor's on 200 houses. 200 houses that he rent out, that he invested his money in, or his company have invested money in, to rent the houses out. Not all of them, but a lot of the people that rent the houses don't do the upkeep of the houses. And that's unfortunate, and then we as...
Trustee,
Excuse me.
this is citizens address, trustee.
I'm addressing the citizens.
And you've answered her question.
She asked me a question.
This is citizens
now you
address.
want to
I just want to conclude that
Thank you,
even
ma'am.
whatever
Okay.
he sells the
Thank
house
you.
for, there should be some kind of arrangement. He's entitled to profit, but Dalton should still get some profit out of that sale. That's all I'm saying. Whatever the arrangement is, he's entitled to profit.
And we also get the taxes.
But we should be getting. That's little money. You talking about
Taxes are
he's walking
big
away
money.
with 35,000? You talking about we just getting 5,000? That's little money. You just got through saying that we are millions of dollars in debt. Look at the big picture. We need for even though it's just 6 houses, that's money in areas that Dalton should be collecting money from. That's an area that we should get more than 5,000. It should be maybe 60-40 or something like that, or 37 something, but not nothing other than the $5,000. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
They want me to. Ed, am I okay? They want me to sign off on over 20 houses, and you're talking about 6 houses. We're gonna get $40,000 for it. That we had to pay $30,000 to have the demolition and abandonment lien filed on them. $5,000 a piece that we paid to have a demolition lien or abandonment lien put on the property so we can sell. You know what it costs? It costs about $300 in fees with the county. It costs you another $75 to put that in the paper. Why did we pay $30,000, $5,000 a piece to file a lien against the property? Secondly, I just talked to our housing director here. She doesn't know if any house has been sold for $155,000, whatever it was. They made it $35 per profit. She's never signed off on anything. I've never signed off on anything. So what happened? How did he sell a house without us signing off on it?
I didn't say he sold the house for $155,000. I don't know how much he sold the house
You're
for.
exactly right. You didn't say that. You said it's 155th Street, but you said he made a $35,000 profit.
That's what. Yes.
What kind of profit can you? How do you make a profit when we haven't even signed off on the deed? How do you sell it? Hey, Pat.
Okay, I just wanted to say this because I know I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. But if you say, Trustee Pearson, and because he yielded to you, it's on you now, that you guys... Muhammad yielded to you. Okay. So even all of you, if you say you've gone over the budget over and over and over to see if there was something else that you could do, well, the 5 cuts are still 5 cuts. You didn't find 20,000 or 30,000 that could save one. So I'm just putting this out there. I'm not looking for you to give an answer. But out of that, there's got to have been something that could have saved one. We have to put the faces with the positions. When a person loses a job, it affects the entire family. Sisters, brothers, cousins, aunts, uncles. I remember back in the late 50s, early 60s, my father worked for International Harvester, and he lost his job. Well, during that time, I really didn't know what that really meant, but I remember my mother crying about it. I can remember like it was yesterday because it was raining, and she was sitting in the window. And I asked her, I said, well, Mom, what's going on? What happened? She said, well, your dad is not working. I asked her, I said, well, what are we going to do? And she said, we'll figure it out. Now, it may not be as detrimental to some of these folks here as it was back in the 50s or 60s. But stuff like that stays with you. I'm 70 years old, and I remember it like it was yesterday. So look hard for that extra money, because it's not about one person. It's about that entire family that's going to pick up the pieces to help the children, the moms, the dads, and everybody else. So look a little harder. You don't have to give me an answer. I just wanted you to hear that. Whatever you all do, you're going to do anyway. But it's not about you. It's about the family.
All right, thanks, Pat.
Good evening, everybody. I was just curious. Our garbage cans, who that's right here on the street? The garbage cans that's right here on the street. Who empty those garbage cans for us?
It's about Public Works.
Who?
Public Works.
Oh, yeah. Well, could y'all? They look a little sour out there.
Yeah, let me say something. Public Works sometimes come around and empty the garbage, the trash cans out here, and I've seen people bring their garbage and put them in the city cans.
Wait, now I'm gonna help you. Cause you know I'm still here at times. Now, if you see them, ain't that called say something and stop something?
Is that called what?
Isn't that called, if you see them, you say something and you stop something?
I do say something.
Oh, yeah, because
I say something about the loitering I say something when they're drinking publicly. I call them on a regular basis. I call the police department on a regular basis.
And on our housing, I mean, I've been out here so long. I just, I don't know what to say anymore. And this will probably be a rare apology. I know I come in here and I speak my piece and I walk out because it's to the point where I'm not going to listen to no mumbo jumbo, and I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over again. But I'm really beautifully, wonderfully curious now. Why is it I can't never ever get any response from you all unless I go, real way out there to the far left? I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do this one in private. But if I ever see any of your officers that I got on videotape, if I ever see any of your officers do what I seen them pull again, I'm gonna put it everywhere that the media will take it, because I don't want to discuss it for the simple fact you all are so disrespectful. You all don't get back to me about nothing. And then when I go in front of a judge and then quietly serve one of your officers, then everybody be looking at me all sideways. Now, here's my thing. What they did, I know was wrong. And the killing part is the fact that they don't care. I wrote you a note, and I know it wasn't the nicest note in the world. And you know what my mentor used to always tell me? Write it, regret it. I ain't had no regret writing that letter, because the killing part is I'm sick of them. I'm just sick of them. I've been out here so long. I mean, I'm just sick of them. And if you tell me to come to you and then you don't answer me, that makes you a bum to me.
Well,
and I'm far past a bum is a being under mud. Everything you do, your people will follow you. People will find you because you muck through the mud. It is not respectful. It is not safe. This community in itself, it was an accident by my house. Now, when that boy jumped out of the car a week or so ago, he had a gun. Guess who found it? One of the kids that stayed down the street from me, and guess what his parent did? They were so pissed off at dealing with stuff in his police department, they took it to Calumet City Police Department and turned it in. And I told the officers, I say, could one of y'all walk down the alley and at least check the alley? Because he jumped out a car, literally kept the car running till it just stopped on his own. And then they went out. I saw them take no fingerprints. They didn't dust the car. Just simply picked the car up and tore it. They didn't take no interrupting me.
I didn't interrupt you. I didn't say nothing.
Even looking like it. It's just now. It's at the point when I stand here. Let me get my 3 minutes in, because if y'all really gonna do something.
It's been 5 minutes.
You know what? Don't play with me.
Don't play with me.
Don't play with me. See, that's the thing now. Everything can spin off into a joke. Don't play with me, because if this hit the news, it's gonna make us look just like I'm standing here saying I'm an adult. Don't play with me. I try to come in here with mutual respect for you all. But the bottom line is, you got some of these officers that you paying, then you want to run around here and you want to hire more. Get the ones that we got. We got some that are good. Y'all don't get them the time of day. They change shift like men want new underwear, because they don't want to work up against some of this crap that they dealing with. They got to pay their bills, take care of their responsibility. And for the few, the very few that we got live in this community, they don't even want to be known as law enforcement officers out here. So the bottom line is, for once, y'all want to just walk away or something, because it's starting to get to the point where y'all not doing enough for our community. And when we say we want y'all say y'all want our help in the community, y'all give us absolutely nothing. Just like me walking in here tonight. I walked in here again at Kids Play. and it's got to stop. These houses need to be taken care of, these streets, and that locator y'all be putting out on the street, why do it have to be, it run from the end of there all the way down here? Isn't that the facing the street? You can simply put it on the curb and put you 2 arrows right there. Unless you all want to just do like y'all do, embarrass the people, but they can't embarrass y'all for not paying the water bill.
I will be brief. I have a question in regard to the BP Capital Company. And I'd like to know, were they vetted before they were given these houses, or they're going through the process of buying the houses or getting these houses? Were they vetted? Did you know, had you had a chance to talk to maybe other villages that had had some work with them? Because it appears to me that we're kind of on a slippery slope here. It just doesn't sound as if it's a gray area, that it might not be so kosher, might not smell so good. And each time it comes up, that's what I get, that people are beginning to think that you chose this company for reasons that we don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I've always prided myself on being able to read and understand things. But were they vetted? Can someone answer that for me?
I'll answer. And I have this also to state. We hire a lot of vendors. We give a lot of contracts. And it just, no disrespect to me, to you, I'm sorry. No disrespect to you.
Whatever.
It amazes me how no one asked about other vendors. Now,
well, this seems to be the one that's causing so many, differences of opinions.
Ma'am, this is like a commercial. It's played over and over again. And then once you keep playing the commercial, whether it's for a Snickers bar or anything of like that, then you're going to go out there and purchase a Snickers bar because you done heard this over and over again.
But you
now,
still didn't
I'm
answer
going
my
to answer your question
Were
right
they
now.
vetted?
I'm going to answer your question right now. They did houses in Markham. Markham had a bunch of abandoned houses, and not only them, it was also Bright Star Construction Company that did houses also in Markham. They had, I can't tell you how many abandoned houses they had around a brand new school that they were building. And the houses were very nice that they put together. And if I'm not mistaken, Mayor Webb at that particular time, I think they gave him like $5,000 per house to rehab it because they didn't want to build a new school with all the abandoned houses around the school, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? And I went and looked at the houses. I've been knowing about this program for a long time, and I looked at all our abandoned houses, and that was one of our biggest complaints. Abandoned houses, lighting, and overgrown grass, along with raggedy sidewalks and streets. Those were our biggest complaints. And since we had a bunch of abandoned houses, over 400 houses, nobody have ever came up here and said anything about the abandoned houses. We had South Suburban Land Bank prior to BP Capital coming here. You had South Suburban Land Bank that was basically that had a contract with the village or an agreement. They were doing basically commercial properties. They wasn't doing the abandoned homes. Well, if you went out there and you talked to the residents and they live next door to the abandoned pieces of property, just like I just described, and you can go out here right now and look at all the abandoned properties, then we needed something for home ownership and to put these abandoned houses back on the tax roll.
So are you saying, you mentioned RFP, request for proposal. Did what is it, Kate? What's the name of the company?
BP Capital, no.
BP Capital. Did they go through a process of being vetted? I mean, did they give you the business plan and tell you this is what we're going to do, and look at what we've done for other villages? Were you able to talk to some of those other village presidents and mayors?
Yes, I did.
It just seems like it's just something about
yes,
this
I
that
did.
doesn't smell good.
You said it seemed like. Yes, I did. I talked to several presidents of different villages. Also, I went over there and looked at the houses myself. Also, I talked to BP Capital, and by us being home rule, everything does not have to be put out to a RFP, such as 5 Star with the concrete. No RFP. They wasn't, because we're home rule.
I was asking because I didn't know. But
Yes, ma'am.
It seems as if at some point, though, the process wasn't what it should have been. You're dealing with business, you're dealing with people's homes, or if they've lost the homes, you're putting them out there, and these people are coming in, and you mentioned that somebody made $35,000. That's a lot of money. After you've taken in account all the money that you put into the house, and you walk away with $35,000 profit, that's not bad. Not at all.
Well,
but I just didn't understand. I never knew what the process was when you got rid of the land bank and then came up with BP Capital. Because I was here, I think the first time, and most of the residents, they didn't quite understand it. They were not feeling it. They really weren't.
Well, I've talked to a lot of residents on the street. I've talked to them on the phone, and I've talked to especially the ones that live next door to these abandoned houses, and they welcome the program, so they do not have to live next door to an abandoned house.
But were you able to tell them what the process was?
Yeah, absolutely.
How the village is being affected by it?
Not only did I tell them about the process, we had workshops at Bishop Davis Church over here on 142nd Street. Okay, we've had 2 workshops about the abandoned houses. We had at the last one, we had I think it was 15 people that actually qualified to purchase those houses.
And I have one other thing to say. We're talking about the bonds that need to be purchased or have been purchased to pay bills. But you got to realize, before Mayor Rogers became mayor, there was a lot of dirty stuff going on. He inherited a lot of that.
Ma'am,
he inherited a lot. Anytime you can be the mayor and you can hire your brother at $70,000 a year, he's riding around in a town car doing nothing.
Well, ma'am, I don't know anything about his brother's salary, and that's just I have to say this on that note. Would I hire my sister, somebody I've been knowing all my life that I could trust? Yes, I would hire my sister, and that's if she was qualified. Now, I don't know the qualifications of
I don't think it really
the
has
last
anything to do with that,
administration.
he did what he
okay,
wanted to do
and
anyway.
we
But
actually
you gotta
had.
realize it was here. I've been in Dalton for 32 years, and I know how it has changed.
We had 2.5 million in 2014 for the water bill that would have been paid off this year. In 2014,
So
had we kept our agreement, then we would have been finished paying off that debt this year. So, therefore, we just need to tighten up on our belt, because we can't spend more than we bring in.
They did for so many years. So it's
now that didn't make it right.
Excuse, I want to address you. Yeah. Now, I just want to go back on the BP Capital. I'm gonna be quick, Mayor. 2 minutes. I don't appreciate the load of crap that people tell residents as it relates to these programs. That's my issue. I'm not gonna let somebody feed you garbage and not tell you the truth sitting here. I've always done that sitting up here on this board. What you're saying is so true. What she's saying, no, it's not. Why would you give away your inventory and you residents can have it? She just said, well, they weren't asking about it before. So what? You're asking about it now. So do something about it now. You can always change a vote or change your mind to what the residents, the people want. But this board do not do that. They stick to what they want. They can change it by offering the properties to you guys. Why not do that? That's what's right. Why do we need a company? And then not only that, if you're a realtor or whatever, you can go sell the house. We're not in the real estate business. We don't obtain property to sell it. If that's the case, tomorrow, you go get 5 houses like the other person did, right? And then come to this board and give me a $30,000 invoice, and I'm going to sign off on it. Where they do that at?
No.
We don't do that.
No.
Wait a minute.
That's what I'm saying. That's not right. That's not what we do. But people advocating saying it's a good program, but we still sitting on the inventory. No, we don't supposed to do that. If we was going to sell the house, we should have sold the house, moved the house, and that was the end of it. We don't supposed to still be sitting here saying, okay, guys, come to this meeting. Okay, now you got to qualify for $40,000. Some people cannot even get approved for that. Some people, parents buy them houses. Some people pull from their 401ks, their profit sharings, right? So why can't they have the house? They might not have great credit to qualify for a program, but that don't mean they cannot afford the property. You see what I'm saying? So why exclude them? So that's my issues. But nobody want to vet it through my committee. They just voted for it. That's my issue.
Well,
First of all,
Ho. First of all, this is citizens' address.
oh, but that was okay.
Yeah, it was okay.
That's what you
yeah,
do, man.
Yeah, it was okay.
That's what you do.
Right. I know what you do. I know what you do.
And the venom and the lies out there.
Right.
BP Capital has not been given a chance. They have not had a chance to move on one house because you said it was bad. You told the people it's bad.
It is
and
bad.
now everybody thinks it's
It is bad.
How many houses have they had?
It is bad.
You ain't signed
It
no
is.
deed.
You're right. I haven't signed
So
it.
why you telling people they're selling
Why are we
all
giving?
these houses?
Why are we giving inventory away for nothing?
Mayor, I asked
For nothing.
you a long time ago.
Investors have
Tell
came
me
here.
one investor that has given this village money for a house that they got. One.
Excuse me.
They bought.
Trustee.
Come on, $10,000.
Is this the citizens'
Yes,
address?
it is. Yes, it is, sir.
Oh, okay, because y'all too.
And I apologize to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I still stand by what I said. We should not be giving our inventory away for free. I've had investors say, Mayor, we'll pay you for your houses. I had realtors call me and say, Mayor, we got investors that say that we will pay you for your houses, not giving them away free. When you talk about, oh, they're going to go back on the tax roll, 2 years from now? We got to. You talk about having an immediate crisis now, where you try to get some revenue ahead. That was a perfect situation to get revenue. Perfect situation. Now you're expecting me to sign off on 22, 24, whatever it is, deeds, and I want to know who they sell them to. I want to know what kind of money they're making on them, because that's the kind of money that we're actually losing.
All right. Okay, so let me just say this. So please, what I'm about to say, don't nobody take it personal, because it's business. I'm just going to get that out the way. Number one, has anybody, as it pertains to BP Capital and the South Land Bank, has anybody even asked the land bank if they do residential? Number one, we had them, but then we asked them. Y'all keep saying they do commercial, but nobody even asked if they do residential.
Most of their inventory is residential.
So did we ask? I mean, this board, because here's what I see. I see personal agendas. I don't see the business about the residents of the village. Because here's the thing. If you got the resident of the village, irregardless of what the mayor's saying, we're saying we don't want BP Capital. So if we're saying we don't want BP Capital, you as our elected officials should be going with what we want, not with what you want. That's number one. Number two, I want to know a direct answer. Don't go around, beat around the bush. I don't need no explanation. Why was Tiffany removed from that as the chair? Why? Because y'all cut her vote out? I just want to know, because when somebody is speaking for the people of the village, I notice a trend. Y'all vote against them, or y'all remove them. I I see it. You don't look surprised because that's what's happening. I'm only speaking the truth. I'm only speaking what I see. And most of the residents see the same thing. Because here's the thing. Can one of you, besides Tiffany, tell me why she was removed from her position as chair? Direct answer. Anybody? No. I'm waiting.
Your 3 minutes gonna run out before you get an answer.
Nah, you know what? Here's the thing. The reason why it's so hesitant and nobody, Trustee Muhammad, I'm surprised you didn't jump on the mic because you always transparent about things. That's what your key word is. You so transparent. But you're not transparent. You have a hidden agenda. You want to be the mayor of this town, but you will not be. Because when you was the mayor pro temp, the way you disrespected the clerk, people saw that. You're supposed to be a man of the cloth. No. I said don't take it personal, but I'm telling you, you're supposed to be a man of the cloth. But I don't understand that, because the minister said himself, anybody that disrespect a woman is disrespecting God to his face. That's what your minister said. But I guess you didn't hear that speech. Look, right now, we in a financial crisis. And the residents have absolutely no voice in what goes on with you guys and when you vote, because Tiffany, y'all ousted her because she's speaking against you, so she not a part of it. Y'all ousted Jason House from the beginning because he sticks with the mayor and he votes for what's right. So if it's not according to what y'all want, we gonna stick together. We got 4 votes. That's what it's gonna be. And Ms. Denton, you're a sweetheart. I'm telling you. Make your own decisions. Make your own choices. Don't let them influence you one way or the other. You know, they can feed you this and they can feed you that. But when it's a hidden agenda, when you're a woman of God, stand on that. Because guess what? The Bible says, blessed is he who is persecuted for my sake. It don't matter if they ostracize you. If you standing up for what's right, and what's right is what's for the village. It's nothing about the 6 of you up there. It's about what the rest of us need. That's what we have to do. That's why I'm going to be running again for trustee, to make sure that I'm just not talking about it, but I'm going to stand on it. And that's my time, man.
Thank you, Pastor. All right, yeah. I think it's halftime now.
I'm not going to take a penny. I'm sorry. I won't be up here long.
Bears up
I just
7-0.
have a question. The subject matter that's near and dear, you know, is BP Capital South Suburban Land Bank, and Mayor just disclosed, yes, the land bank does residential. There is an intergovernmental agreement that I would ask, has anybody read? Before you go get BP Capital, understand the agreement that's in place. Next thing is that you're selling the houses for $5,000 or $40,000. We get our $5,000 back. What happens to the rest of the money? Who gets that?
The $35,000.
Yes.
That go to rehabbing of the house.
No, you said that was a profit.
Now, see, this is what I mean.
Let me
about
ask
the
a question,
commercial.
Trustee.
This is what.
So the house is being sold. This is Invest Dalton we're talking about, right?
Absolutely.
So the house is being sold for $40,000, right?
Yes.
$5,000 comes back to the village.
Yes.
There's $35,000
for the rehab.
For the rehab, but
Yes.
it's sold for $40,000. Who gets that $35,000? Where's that going?
That is for the rehab. That's the money that's the contractors.
Contractors that do the work.
No.
35 to rehab it.
Talking
5 goes back to the 5 goes back to the village, and 35 goes into the rehab. So the resident.
Who's doing the rehab?
BP Capital.
BP Capital's doing the rehab.
I mean, they're not doing the actual rehab. The contractor that person selects does the rehab.
But BP Capital is intertwined with Invest Dalton?
The Invest in Dalton program, we asked them to give 6 houses so that we could have a raffle so that people could buy these houses for around $40,000. There was no profit in it. It was the rehab amount and the amount to remove the taxes. So if it's $40,000, that's 35 might, or it could be 45. It depends on what the person wants in it. If they put 40 in the house, and 5 goes back to the village, and that person paid $45,000, that's what it costs. That's the Invest in Dalton program.
So the $35,000 is going to BP Capital to do the rehab
It's going
of
into the contractor that person selects. They could pick.
They select their own contractor.
5 or 8 contractors, depending on the one they select, and depending on what they decide they want in their house. And say it costs $40,000 to get it the way they want, and that's what the contractor's going to charge them.
So if it costs more than $40,000, are they financed for that amount?
They have to be able to get finance, yes. They have to be able to get finance.
And they're
just like any
financed
other.
through, and is there selected banks or financial institutions?
Well, there was a U.S. Bank was there. There was a couple other banks there. We're not picking a bank for them. We're not telling them who to. And they were told they can get their own financing. And it was for home ownership. That's why the program, we were trying to do that.
So you have
because
6
everybody
houses,
keeps saying,
$40,000.
talking about gangs and drugs and
I got
renters
that.
and people.
I understand the
bad
reasoning
people,
for it. I
and
don't
we're
think
trying to
that
do
the
home
reasoning
ownership.
is bad, but I think that it was, in my opinion, not thought out far enough. That's just my opinion. And as far as the BP Capital piece of it, the Invest Dalton is one, BP Capital is another, but the same people in the sandbox. But the BP Capital is getting houses at no cost to them to sell for home ownership, that we could possibly think of another way to do it, even if it's not the land bank, but land bank is not going to charge you a dime to do any of it. Trust me, I'm sure there's a dime somewhere.
But why do
being
you
paid.
say that?
Because it just doesn't sound right, trustee. They're a for-profit organization, but I don't
the
want to
land
take
bank
up the
did it.
mayor's
What was
time to
so
go see the
different?
game. There is a difference. When you have a for-profit organization and a non-profit organization, there's a clear difference. They're not in it for the profit. So whatever monies that property is sold for, the money goes back into the pool to buy another house, to do whatever it is that needs to be done. It's also sold to homeowners at a lower price. Yes, and they can do the rehab on their own. But it's a whole different program, and if you want, we can sit down and talk about that, as I've invited others.
Well, I did call you.
And you told me that.
The first time you said that, I said, I called you.
You told me that, and I did not get that call. And if I missed that call, trustee, please forgive me and call me again. I'll answer. I promise you I will. I'll be more than happy to speak with you about that. But there is something about BP Capital, and here's the other thing. Trustee, you mentioned that there were houses in Markham. There was a young man that stood at this podium and said that he had some houses that he purchased through BP Capital in Markham that he has not gotten ownership of. And that was in the tune of $80,000. That should put pause to all of this. Think about it for a minute. I don't know the details. I just know what I heard. That would make me pause and say, well, what happened to that young man's money? That's a
I didn't
lot
see
of
any
money.
documentation to go
We saw
along
it.
with that.
We saw it.
I
didn't see it.
Well, he actually showed it to
I
me.
didn't see any documentation.
You did not?
I did not see any documentation.
We saw it.
He keep cutting me off. Go ahead, Mr.
He actually showed it to me. Mr. Dorsey actually attended a class with me. So he and I spoke about it, and I clearly saw the documentation.
I saw the canceled check in the documents.
I did too, but I'm sure he'll show it to you if you want to see it. But, I mean, that's just very curious that there has been some transactions that did not come to fruition. So I'm going to let you go so you can go watch the base football, whatever game it is.
Okay.
But
I'd like to get a motion to
enjoy
adjourn.
the evening.
I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Okay.
A second.
Second. Okay, it's been motion and second to adjourn.
Bill Citizens Address.
Jason House. Roll call.
Of course he don't want to hear him. You got to get a vote. No.
Trustee Muhammad?
No.
I
said no.
Trustee.
Trustee Stubb?
No.
Yeah, whatever. Trustee House?
Aye.
Trustee Denton? Trustee Pearson?
Aye.
Trustee Henry?
Aye.
Motion carries.
He was trying to
This meeting's adjourned.
He was trying to talk, and they shut him down. We had 4 to say.
Okay, so we just, yeah, I'm gonna see him tomorrow. I'm probably gonna find Robert.